But no, I did. No worries. I try to be an adult most times, and I can try to remember.
Mr. Hudson, I would have texted you, but I was kind of busy enjoying my new PS4. So yeah.
Ooh, PS4. All right, so hold up. Hey, what I did not mean to happen was Eric referencing his PS4 to like send us off a cliff of woo. So I need everybody for the next approximately 120 seconds, which is 2 minutes, right? Just look at your text. You either have check marks if things are right, or you have circles and X's if things are wrong. If you have problems circled, they're wrong. They need your attention. I did not put X's on everything because, quite frankly, I got tired. We had a lot of mistakes on this test, and we're going to go over this question by question. I made it kind of tough because it was right before break. It was kind of like our semester exam. You see, like, where are we at? The progressing to mastery is easier. It is actually the test the book suggests. Here's the chapter 4 test. Like, I don't normally use those, but as a progressing to mastery, you'll notice there's less of the distributed property work and stuff like that. But eventually, we got to be mastered with those skills. So that's why I keep throwing them at us so we can keep working on this. So here's how I'm going to do this. As you check your work for a couple minutes, I'm going to get this queued up and going. But on the screen on the floor will just be my answer key. Like literally what I'm grading off of, what I graded off of. On the screen up here, we're going to solve those problems together, right? And we're going to do that for like the half hour that we'll have left in class. So take a minute or two. Try to think about why did I get that wrong? Like what happened? Because that's way more helpful to your brain than me to just give it to you. And then we'll go over it. If you want, somebody broke my TV apparently, so I'm going to try to figure that out.
Somebody broke it. Maybe someone broke in, but not could be lost.
Hey.
He has a personal grudge against everybody.
I did not say we're supposed to be talking to each other about Mr. Estes. That was not what we're doing. So my second screen may not work today, apparently. I'm guessing I have some fixing to do over here. Regardless, then, I guess you won't see the answer key, but that's fine. Well, we're gonna solve them together. Yes. Oh, we shut those or the steel doors that are on the other side. Like the first thing I would do is sprint to that door, put the steel bar in it, and just trust that you guys for a couple seconds can do whatever. We were actually discussing this over break, and I was talking about how I would then probably hide in Tiger's room. And if anybody, this is really far, like worst case scenario, but if anybody was really trying to like do anything crazy, they'd probably break that glass. And if they had a weapon, they'd probably stick it through because people are stupid. Well, yeah. And that's, I would have something like long and hard, like in smack, whatever. Like, literally yeah, fire extinguishers are great. All right, so on your progressing to mastery. On your progression to mastery, I literally typed in there, for the love of ancient Greek mathematicians that formalized all these rules to make things easier for us, do not add first. Because that's way down in the order of operations. PEMDAS, right? So on your paper, please write out a reminder to yourself of the PEMDAS ladder that only has 4 steps. Because remember, there is no division, really. It's multiplication. And there is no subtraction, really. It's addition. So that's why these are in the same step. But guys, we always have to look at, can I do what's in the parentheses first? But here we can't, right? X plus 2, that doesn't work. That's not 2x, that's not x squared, that's x plus 2. They're two different things. So the first thing we do here, and this is what you should be writing on your graph paper if you got this wrong on the test on the first time around, would be the arrows. That's literally the first thing you'd be writing. And I'm going to move this over so I can... Guys, you want to get in the habit of just working vertically. It is easiest for your brain to comprehend what you're doing when you drop things down. Like, the world works that way. When I let go of my pen, it drops. When I move on to the next step of math, we drop it down. So the 7 doesn't change. What's 3 times x? Just 3x. 3 times 2, 6. A lot of people like to forget to do that second multiplication. That was a trapdoor that I would fall into back in the day, is forgetting to do that 3 times 2. The 3 times x is obvious. They're next to each other. That's easy to see. Now, what can I do? Simplify by combining like terms. So guys, if you on your paper have an LT or something I wrote out like terms, you're combining things you're not allowed to combine. Here, the only things that can be combined are the 7 and the 6. The 3x has no friends up there, right? Like, he has no terms like him. So 3x is all alone, and 7 and 3 add together, 7 and 6 add together to make 13. 3x plus 13. Hey, as it's been in the past, I just want to make sure this is really clearly explained, and for anybody who's absent and watching this on YouTube, if you got it wrong on the initial test, you gotta have the correction written on your graph paper. If you got it right, whatever, it's up to you if you write it out again or not. If you got a check mark on this, you're fine. But if you have questions circled or X, you have to write this out on your paper. So A was actually, I think, the hardest one in problem 1, because part B, all we have to do is distribute. So we draw the arrows. 2 times 3y, 6y. 2 times, negative, right? So this is either minus 8, or you could write 6y plus a negative 8 if you wanted to. And remember that what we did is not the P in PEMDAS, that's the M actually, because we cannot combine the 3y and the minus 4. Any questions with A or B? Please, guys, this is what we're talking about with grit this morning with that TED Talk. The grittiest of students will raise their hand and be like, yeah, I still don't get it. I know you've explained it 5 times, but I still don't get it. What that means is, like, I'm not doing something well enough. Any questions with A or B? So then I'm going to quickly run through C. C, same thing as B, except C is actually the easiest one here because it's all positive. So I draw the arrows, and 7 times 2n, 14n, 7 times 3, 21, and I cannot put those together. They're not like terms. Guys, that was, I think, the biggest misunderstanding here. And we did work to try to support this in class. And this is on the Progressing to Mastery, which is why I'm going to bring it up right now. But remember that this, I know you can't see right now, that x squared term versus that x tile versus 1 tiles that don't line up correctly. When we did that, it doesn't line up correctly. Versus a y tile, or like, there's all kinds, like, these are not the same shapes, right? They don't play well with each other. Now, if we talk about perimeters and edge lengths, then some things line up, but the ones don't ever line up with the x's unless we know what x is. Remember, like terms, you gotta have the same variable or no variable. Any questions on number 1? Anything at all remaining for number 1? So I would squiggly line your paper, especially because if you had issues on number 1, you probably had issues on number 2. Sorry, just being honest. Now, in number 2, I retyped some things in your test, but then I copied these things straight off the original before I edited stuff. I think I typed something in here about, like, beware the trapdoor of negative numbers and subtraction and data, and like changed subtraction into negative numbers. So if I make this, if I heed the advice of Mr. Hudson back from 2019, and I change that into plus the negative, now my multiplication, I'm going to change colors just to make sure that we see what's happening. Negative 3 times x gives me negative 3x. Negative 3 times 2 gives me a negative 6. I could actually put the negative 3x in parentheses if I want. And the 9 drops down, doing nothing yet. Now I can group like terms. What's that property that says I could move things and put them next to each other? Commutative. So technically what we're doing is we're moving a term and then we can put them together. We don't have to show that move term. We can just do it. So 9 and a negative 6. Hey guys, negative. A few of you fell in the trap door and you treated this like it was positive. 9 and negative 6 makes 3, and then a negative 3x. Some of you were really smart and did negative 3x plus 3 just to put the negative first, which is a little bit nicer because then we don't need parentheses. Yeah.
Okay, so if we didn't put the negative, like negative 3x, did we get the answer wrong?
No, so you could also have 3 minus 3x
Okay.
is the same thing. Yeah, so 3 plus a negative 3x, negative 3x plus 3, 3 minus 3x. There's a bunch of ways to write this. Thank you for asking. Any other questions? Hey, by the way, because we jumped into class really fast, it's good to be back. Like, I know it sucks that we're all here. Like, none of us really want to be here, but if I have to be anywhere, you know, happy to be here with you guys. All right, double check B, because if you had issues, look at it now, and it probably makes more sense now. What's the danger here? Anyone know what the dangerous part here is? The negative negative, right? So negative 7 times 3x, negative 21x. But what's a negative times a negative? Positive. So that's negative 21x plus 28. Or you could have 28 minus 21x if you want. That is the same. And again, C was actually probably the easiest one in this question. That's a thing CPM does, but I like it because it's encouraging you, if you can't do A, skip it. Don't skip the whole problem. Look at the next part. So like, guys, hear me when I tell you, on assessments, a lot of times if there's like A, B, C, A might be the toughest. On your homework, a lot of times it's flipped. A is easy, B's middle, C's the hardest. So always make sure you're looking at what there is to do. 7 times 9n, 63n. 7 times a negative 3. So I could either write minus 21 or 63 and plus a negative 21. Questions on 2. Forgot the variable. Anyone's seeing some mistakes that now you're like, what was I thinking back then? Like what? Like I know it was legitimately 2.5 weeks ago, like almost 3 weeks ago. You are a different person now, but like sometimes when we put our brains back on things, we're like, what? Question? Any questions? Yeah, Sam.
I probably tried to do the parentheses first, and I didn't understand it. I kind of guessed on that.
Yeah, it's like terms, right? You cannot combine non-like terms. Yes. Did you get 3 right? I would encourage you to wait till one you got right. Sweet. Cool. There's kind of a trick in number 3. Anyone who got it right, tell me what that trick kind of was? They use all the same numbers. Guys, this is the same problem 4 times.
Yeah.
Just with different variables. Gravity works. So, check it out. Positive 5x, positive 32x. Positive 5b, positive 32b. Positive 32p, positive 5p, positive 32n, positive 5n. So I highlight like terms. I use my highlighters. I literally put them on my supply list, like the school bought them to make sure you have them. You should have your own, but like use my highlighters. So in all of these, the positives combine to be 37, whatever that variable is. So 37x, or 37b, or 37p, or 37n. Then the other term, it's a different variable, so it cannot combine with the x, right? Negative 8, negative 17, both y's. Negative 8, negative 17, both a's. Negative 17, negative 8, both q's. And then both of my m's, negative 8, negative 17. So all of my other terms What's a 17 and an 8 put together? 7 and 8, do that cool, make a 5, right? Yeah, well, 25 because the extra 10 right here. Right, so the negative part of it is negative 25, whatever that other term is. Or you could write minus 25, whatever that other term was. For all of them, yeah. So minus 25q and minus 25 m. Because 17 minus 8 is 9. How you got 9 is putting these together wrong. Right? Which is okay, but like you asked, and that's when I grade your tests, almost always I know what you did. Like, because you're all making the mistakes we expect you to make, but we gotta fix that, right? We gotta fix that. Any questions here with those like terms? We're done now. We have nothing else to do. We cannot put X's with Y's or A's with B's. It's like when people joke about like cats and dogs and think like cats and dogs do coexist, but like these really would not. You cannot put them together. If I say the show cat dog, does anyone have any idea what I'm talking about? So that's the one, like, so when we talk about like cats and dogs, and it's like, oh, you can't put cats with dogs. Like, yeah, you can put a cat and a dog together, but there's still going to be a cat and a dog, right? Or 3 cats and 2 dogs. There's still going to be 3 cats and 2. Cat dog was this show where there was an animal that was a cat on one end and a dog on the other end. It was weird. The question always remained, how do they go to the bathroom? Look, Google it if you're curious. It was just animation back from the early 2000s. I think I wrote this on most of your papers, but if you got this wrong, I bet the reason is you didn't do the division in this order. When we talk about unit price, it's always price per tulip. Sorry, you good, dear? You sure? So price per tulip for Home Depot is the $3 price per 5 tulips, which comes out to be 60 cents. Now, a couple of us fell in the trap of thinking this was 6 cents. Remember, when your answer comes out to be 0.6, you gotta put that second decimal place on. And I think on that paper I wrote 0. Line, like to help remind you there are always 2 decimal places. And at Lowe's, they are $4 for 7, right? Now, a couple of you wrote about, like, well, at Home Depot, you only get 5, or at Lowe's, you only get 7. Guys, we're talking about if I'm buying, like, hundreds, right? We're not saying I'm only buying 5 or only buying 7. We're trying to figure out where is the cheapest place. Like, if I'm running a landscape business, and nudge, you guys could do that over the summer. Like, people will hire kids. Where do I want to go to save my money? It's Lowe's. Now, if you follow my advice of always rounding money up, that would be an 8. So it's either 57 cents or 58 cents. So 58, I should have marked that right. Like, if I didn't, you're okay. If you put 57 or 58. So I'm going to go Lowe's. Even though it's only a savings of 2 or 3 cents, if I'm buying 100 tulips, that's $2 or $3. Like, that's like a sandwich. I'm going to Lowe's. Yeah. Or I'm going to find a coupon or something else. I do like Home Depot better for what it's worth. Any questions on that one? Most of us just did the division in the wrong order. Always put money on top. And after 5, guys, I will tell you, the back, most of us did a whole lot better on the back, which is what I was more concerned about, was our work with proportions. Hold on, we're not on the back yet. I shouldn't have even brought it up. But like, this is the last one that people really struggled with. Excuse me. Now, we still had some mistakes on the back, and that's okay. I gave you some advice here. Like, I typed into the test, like, put them all in the same stuff. There's a lot of ways to do this. Give me your eyes real quick. Some of you solved this in really creative, really awesome ways. So some of you need to give yourself like a pat on the back of like, some people took like, how far can they go in a half hour? Or how far could each of them go in 10 minutes? Or how far could each of them go in an hour? Or like, you compared really interesting things. I was sitting here thinking, oh, let's compute the speed, right? Whose speed is fastest? And you guys were like, well, who went the furthest? Or who, like, this was cool. So like, give yourself a pat on the back if that was you and you were one of those people solving in a really creative way. if we want to go the route that quote unquote is easiest according to your math teacher, right? Make the units smaller to match. I also have inches, feet, feet. So like some people might be like, well, turn this into feet. But if it doesn't turn nicely into feet, which it's like 10 and a half, I like inches. So, like, and you didn't have to follow this way. But when I did, 22 times 12 is 264. And then speed is distance over time. Like miles per hour, distance over time. So inches over, and then I'm going to make the smaller unit of 60 minutes. This was just my thought for this. You might have solved it differently. This comes out to be 4.4, and that would be inches per minute, actually. This is going to be a boring race to watch if they only go 4 inches in a minute. This is already inches compared to minutes. Right? This is already inches and already minutes, so we're good to do that division. 4.2. And 4 feet, well, just multiply by 12, we get 48 inches and 10 minutes. And guys, I went this way because then I don't have to convert my time into all being 60 minutes or all being like 1 minute. Like I just do the division. I let my calculator do the hard work for me. Actually, Nick, I think it's you that I wrote on your paper. Get a calculator. Like you have work. Somebody, it might not have been Nick. He's easy to pick on. Yeah. So Nick was making some mistakes just because he was computing stuff on paper and made like a tiny math mistake. What he was doing was right, but the math was hard. Get a calculator, man. Make the calculator do your tough math for you. I'm all about do math in your head or on paper if you can, but tough math, get a calculator. Guys, this is one way we could do this. Other people did really cool stuff. Like, you took this and you said, okay, well, that's 11 feet per 30 minutes. This is 10.5 feet. Sorry, that's a 10. In 30 minutes. So already Zippy is slower than lightning. Old May, well, if I triple this, it's 12 feet in 30 minutes. Right? So 11, 10.5, and 12. That's another thing that would have worked. Like, Old May goes the furthest. She is the fastest. All because her name's Old May doesn't mean she's slow. And then Lightning is the second fastest, right? The middle. And Zippy, a misnomer there, Zippy is not so zippy. Zippy came in last. Any questions?
I feel like that's kind of weird that they did that on purpose.
Oh, you are absolutely right. All right, on the back. Hey.
Fake news.
Sorry, seriously. Any questions from that one? Yes. Yeah, it is. You just need to put a 0 there.
Yeah, I know, but
And Home Depot is the better deal. That division is dollars divided by tulips, and that division is dollars divided by tulips. And those answers are right. This is 57, but then there's more decimals after it, so you followed my advice of when it's money rounded up. 58 is right. Lowe's is 58 cents, but that just needs to be 60. No, because... Or yeah, sorry, you got me flipped around. These are right, but this is wrong. You have a highlight. Yeah, so now that you know, you're good. Yeah. I must have not paid attention to what you highlighted as better deal. Hey, let's keep individual questions. This should only take us 5 or 10 minutes to get through the rest of this. Then I'll do individual questions after this. Right, so I'll come back to that. You're my first one. 6 is one of the harder problems from the back. Again, if you can't solve it, skip it and come back. 4, it doesn't matter which number's on top and which number's on bottom here. I am just putting the miles compared to the gallons because then I'm going to create a proportion. I know 754. I don't know this. So we ask ourselves this. How do I figure out that multiplication? Because good gosh, that's messy. What do? If we don't know the multiplication, we divide backwards. Guys, this answers a whole number. Now, for some of you, I was nice, and I let your decimal number be okay, but here's why you maybe got a decimal number when you should have a whole number. When we divide 754 divided by 468, which again, if you didn't get this right, you're writing this down right now, we get 1.61. Right? It's like a long number. Do not clear this. Just hit times the 18, because that 1.611111 is right here, right? So that is what's going to happen right here, but this number's already in my calculator. So that is the answer in the calculator. So when I hit times, it grabs A and S, the answer from the previous calculation, and then does that multiplication. And when I do that, we get 29. So it should have been, now if you got 28 point something, you rounded before you did your multiplication, that's okay. I let it go. But the answer is technically 29. Any questions on this one? Guys, most of our proportions we're going to see later in the year are not easy. They'll be like this. We have to divide to figure out what we multiply by.
Is 21 gallons enough for 700?
It would be a lot of that if your vehicle fit all of that. But I mean, on a road trip, you just stop at gas stations, right? So like my vehicle only fits 10 gallons because it's a small SUV. It's just not that big. All right, this one's easier. 4 cupcakes to 15 minutes. How does 15 minutes go to an hour? Shout it out.
4.
Yeah, 4, right? Times 4. So I do the same with my cupcakes. Or we could set up 4 cupcakes to 15 minutes. An hour is 60 minutes. And I could see in the proportion, this is times 4. So this has to be 16 cupcakes. Questions? I know now we're all hungry. This one, you got to give me your eyeballs because I got to have some credit on this. Because if you didn't see it, you will see it, and you're like, oh. 180 newspapers. 3 hours. How many minutes are in 3 hours? 180. If you didn't realize this, it's 1 newspaper per minute. But that is pretty slow, right? If you got a paper out, you'd hope you're going faster than that. Maybe the houses are spread apart. So, in 120 newspapers would take how many minutes? 120 minutes, or 2 hours. So however you give your answer, 120 minutes, 2 hours, I don't care. Or, some of you, and this was genius, did 180 divided by 3, and you figured out it's 60 papers per hour, so that's 60 for each hour. So then how long would it take to deliver 120? 2 hours. That's copied twice for some reason. If 1 inch is 16 miles, how far is a half inch? 8, right? Have that kind of in your head as you start to work this. So half an inch would equal 8 miles. Wait a minute. To get to 24 from 16, it's just another 8. Right? From 16 to 24 miles. Or, if we solve this with a proportion, 1 inch equal to 16 miles, 24 miles. Question is, how do we get there? And when we check this in our calculator, that multiplication is 1.5. So, well, this must then become 1.5 inches, or 1.5. 10 was more difficult, depending on how you look at it. And I was kind of telling, so Dave, I've talked about Dave enough this year, I can just say I was telling Dave, because he was watching football while I was grading papers. And I was saying, this isn't even really a how smart are you question. This is a how easy can we make it question. Because there are a few ways to solve this, and some of you recognized this is 7, right? Which, now, some of you right now are saying, but wait, the units don't match. I agree. But what some of you realized was 1 inch equals 7 feet. And it's not in the same units, but that's okay. You could use that as your scale factor. And I let it go. Like if that's what you figured out, that works as long as you use it correctly. But if I make my 6 inches into a foot, I doubled it, right?
Yeah.
6 inches doubled is a foot, so I got to double this. It's 84 feet, right? So your scale is actually 1 to 84 or 84 to 1. But if you put labels on it, you could use 1 inch to 7 feet or 7 feet to 1 inch. So I would accept either of those, and either of them are right. It's not about what do I accept, it's about is the math right. And then 182 feet. Here's the nice thing about using this scale factor. This is same units, right? We did feet to feet. So from 182 feet, I could divide by my scale factor of 84, and that gets 2.16. I think it keeps going, maybe, or maybe it came out clean. 2.16 feet. Or if we use this, or any other, I mean, there's a few different ways to get there. We can get 26 inches. Because we divide this by 7, 182 divided by 7, we get 26. So I want you guys to get in the habit of using the same units, but this is okay. And when you're comparing like a model car to a real one, we're talking like probably inches up 2 feet. Is probably what they'll give you conversion factor in. 11 should have been a bit easier. I try to kind of pepper in difficult with easier problems because I know I give you guys some pretty difficult problems. How do you go from 4 to 16? Times 4, right? So this is a dilation of 4. So by what ratio? So either 4 to 1, or you could say 1 to 4. But if we do new compared to original, it should be 4 to 1. So this is the same question again, essentially. Right? And then this, I forget if I actually asked you all 3 of these questions. I think I maybe cut.
You just did A and B.
Yeah. Well, I did A and C, actually, I think. Yeah. This, you just didn't have B on. I cut it out. Because I was like, this is pointless. It's the same question. And then, I forget if I copied, yeah. When they give you the inch to feet, this is a scale factor, but it's inch to feet, so they have to have the labels. Well, guys, how do I go from 1 inch to 3 3/4 inches? Times 3 3/4, right? So if that's times 3 3/4, that's what I do with my feet, and we get 30. It should be 30. Because 8 times 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. If you want to do it that way, because think about it. 3/4. I could do a fourth of 8 is 2. 3/4 will be 2, 2, 2. Be 6. So to say it again, and to hopefully like encourage you, I feel like there's hot lava draining from the ceiling. It's hot in here today. This, I'm sorry, I'm boiling. Maybe you need to eat more, put some meat on your bones. This has 8 questions. As you get it, put your name on it, first things first. Put your name on it, because I'm not making extra copies of this. you will notice this has different question, well, kind of different question types. You were working on graph papers with it, right? Okay, just making sure because I didn't see right there. Guys, your graph paper, your original test, and this paper will all get turned back in together. You are welcome. So if you don't want to staple them together right now, stack your graph paper, your original test, and this, and fold a corner down, like dog-ear it, or just come staple them all together if you're worried about losing stuff. Look at number 3. It tells you to reference number 4. Okay? So please do not come to number 3 and then throw yourself into a tizzy of like, oh, I don't remember what they're not labeled. They're the x squared, and 1 tiles, right? That the first set of blue tiles we worked with, the 1 tile, the x tile, rectangle, and the x squared tile, the square. Hold up just a second. Notice at the top with an asterisk, or actually I think no, I just made it bold and capital letters. Read this now. If the test, me, told you to show work, and you don't, I'm not even grading that problem. I'm just marking your test as a progressing. You'll get it back, and then you'll have to do it. So that's a waste of time. If it says show work, show work. Even if you think like, well, I can do that in my head. Show me what you did. If all you did was 20 times 3.5, or like write out 20 times 3.5, and like show me what you did. Okay? Ish? Questions about this, Araya?
Okay, on number 3 for the tiles, is it cheating if I write like that?
No, you can go ahead and label it right now. Like, I'm kind of encouraging you to do that. You could label the square as x squared. You could label the rectangles as x's. And you could label the little boxes as 1s. And that one's perimeter and area, which we did in class. So if you struggle with, you might need to go back and look at some notes or just come ask me for help. If number 2 looks scary, skip it and come back to it later. But the last question on the test, number 8, and you can obviously tell when I put the Hudson spin on what I'm typing and I get less teachery. So the last sentence there says, for the love of ancient Greek mathematicians, do not add first. The only time we would add first is if there was just addition in parentheses. Notice how I said just. If you look at that set of parentheses, there's addition in there, but there's also multiplication. Multiply first. All right, get out of here, guys. Trying to make you had a question. What's up, man? This is not that. I don't know. So you divided 7 by 4 instead of 4 by 7. Yeah, that would be 1 3/4. Yeah, so that is 1.75 tulips per dollar. Literally, you're cutting tulips in half, or in quarters. Because you did tulips divided by dollars. You did the division backwards. So you need to do 4 divided by 7. You can still do this through long division. Remember, any division with 7 on the bottom is a million. Remember the 7s are just eating up. So you would end up stuck in repetition. But again, that's where we use a calculator. So you did 7 divided by 1. Right? That's tulips per dollar. If we do 4 divided by 7. Got it? So that's how what's up? What? What do I want? What am I going to name my what? Duck? I'm getting a duck? Oh, that duck. I don't know. I feel like I can't steal any of the names that already exist, like from DuckTales or whatever, but I kind of want to. I don't know. This needs some thought. It's got to be a fitting name.
Charlie.
I have to get to know him first.